you have been told a story about romance, about connection, about finding a soulmate. You have been instructed to be a certain type of man, strong yet vulnerable, ambitious yet gentle, confident yet humble. You have followed the rules of self-improvement, honed your body in the gym, sharpened your mind with books, and curated a life of supposed interest and value. And yet, you are overlooked. You watch as the laws of attraction you have so diligently studied seem to dissolve into chaos, seeing choices being made that defy all logic and contradict every piece of advice you have been given. A profound sense of injustice begins to fester. It feels personal, like a fundamental flaw in your character, a failure to measure up to an invisible, ever-shifting standard. This feeling of confusion, of being a ghost in the machine of desire, is one of the most pervasive and silently endured pains of the modern man. But what if this pain is not born from your personal failure? What if it is born from a fundamental misunderstanding of the game itself? What if love is not what you think it is? And what if attraction has nothing to do with your happiness, your worth, or even your personality? There was a philosopher, a man so unflinching in his pessimism that his ideas were deemed too harsh for polite society. His name was Arthur Schopenhauer. Over 150 years ago, he wrote about the hidden engine that drives all of human desire, a force so powerful and so indifferent to our individual lives that its revelation changes everything. He left us a forbidden key to decipher this code, and that key reveals a brutal, unsettling, yet ultimately liberating truth about why women really choose men. It is a truth that has nothing to do with you. To understand Schopenhauer's terrifyingly lucid theory of attraction, we must first understand the bedrock of his entire philosophical system. For Schopenhauer, the world we perceive through our senses is merely a representation, a phenomenon he called the world as representation. It is a veil, a projection of our own minds. But behind this veil, there is a singular, fundamental reality, a blind, ceaseless, irrational, and insatiable striving. He called this force the will zum Leben, or the will to life. This will is not a conscious entity. It has no plan, no goal, and no morality. It is a raw, undifferentiated energy that pulses through every living thing. Its one and only aim is to continue existing, to perpetuate itself, to live on. It is the force that causes a plant to grow toward sunlight, an animal to hunt for food, and a human to cling to life. And this is the first difficult truth. You are not in control. Your conscious mind, your ego, the part of you that you call I, is merely a servant to this deeper, more powerful master. Your intellect did not evolve to seek truth or happiness. It evolved as a tool for the will to life, to help it navigate the world and fulfill its primary directive, survival and, most importantly, procreation. Happiness, in Schopenhauer's view, is a fleeting illusion. True satisfaction is impossible because the will is a bottomless pit of desire. The moment one desire is fulfilled, another 10 take its place. This is the source of all suffering. We are puppets of a relentless striving that can never be quenched. It is within this bleak, deterministic framework that Schopenhauer analyzes the most powerful and deceptive manifestation of the will in human life, what we call romantic love. He dedicated an entire section of his masterwork, The World as Will and Representation, to this topic, under the chillingly precise title, The Metaphysics of Sexual Love. For Schopenhauer, the intense, all-consuming passion you feel is not a personal, spiritual connection. It is the will to life, hijacking your consciousness for its own genetic purposes. It is the ultimate biological deception. If love is merely the will's strategy for self-perpetuation, then how does it work? Why are you drawn to one person and not another? Mainstream narratives offer vague answers: chemistry, shared values, a good sense of humor. Schopenhauer scoffs at such sentimentalism. He argues that the process of attraction is a cold, unconscious, and frighteningly precise genetic calculation. When you feel that inexplicable pull towards someone, what you are actually experiencing is the will operating through you, assessing the biological and genetic suitability of a partner to create the most perfect possible offspring. Your personal happiness is not a factor in this equation. The will is profoundly indifferent to your fate after its goal is achieved. It is concerned solely with the next generation. As Schopenhauer brutally states, ... This is not a question of the lover's weal or woe, but of the existence and special constitution of the human race in generations to come. He then breaks down this unconscious calculus into a series of stark observations, each point serving to strip away the illusion of personal choice and reveal the impersonal mechanics beneath. First, the law of neutralization. Schopenhauer argues that we are instinctively drawn to those who possess the qualities we lack. The will seeks to create a balanced, harmonized individual in the next generation by neutralizing the defects of the parents. A man with a very masculine physique will often be unconsciously drawn to a more delicate woman. A short man may find himself inexplicably attracted to taller women. A person with a large nose may be captivated by a partner with a small one. This isn't a conscious preference for opposites. It is the will, operating at a level far below your awareness, attempting to correct your own physical imperfections in your potential child. You may think you admire her wit or her kindness, and you may consciously believe those are the reasons for your attraction. But Schopenhauer would argue these are merely convenient rationalizations produced by your intellect to justify the much deeper, instinctual command of the will. The real work is happening at the genetic level. Your type is not a preference. It is a biological prescription written by the will to life. Second, the primacy of health and youth. Why are youth and health such universally powerful attractants? The modern world attempts to frame this as a problematic social construction, which Schopenhauer dismisses as naive. The reason is starkly biological. Youth is the clearest signifier of fertility. Health is the clearest signifier of good genetic material. The will, in its blind pursuit of propagation, prioritizes these signals above all else. A woman's most attractive period, from a purely Schopenhauerian perspective, is tied directly to her peak reproductive capacity. He notes that men prioritize physical beauty and youth in women, while women prioritize strength, health, and often status in men. This is not a cultural accident. For the will, the woman's contribution is the direct bearing of the child, so her health and youth are paramount. The man's contribution is to provide and protect, ensuring the survival of that child. Therefore, his strength, resourcefulness, and social standing, which translates to an ability to provide resources, become the primary signals of fitness. It is a cold, utilitarian exchange, masked by the beautiful poetry of love and romance. You are not falling in love with a person. You are falling in love with a collection of biological signals that the will has deemed optimal for its project. Third, the great indifference. Here we arrive at the source of so much pain and confusion, the fading of passion. The relationship begins with an intensity that feels cosmic and eternal. You believe you have found the one person who completes you. Then, over time, the fire dwindles. Disillusionment sets in. The person you once saw as a demigod now appears as a flawed, ordinary human being. You ask yourself, what went wrong? Did I fail? Did they change? According to Schopenhauer, nothing went wrong. Everything went exactly as planned. The intense passion, the love, was a temporary delusion engineered by the will to ensure procreation. It was a bait and switch, its sole purpose to cloud your judgment long enough for a child to be conceived. Once that goal is achieved, or once it becomes clear it will not be, the will withdraws its energy. The illusion shatters, as Schopenhauer writes. So, after the consummation of the great work, the demon is unmasked, just as when, in the theater, the lights are put out after the performance. You are left standing in the dark, amidst the cheap stage props, wondering where the magic went. You are left with another individual whose own will is now pursuing its own set of desires, often in conflict with yours. This, Schopenhauer claims, is why so many marriages founded on passionate love devolve into misery and indifference. The two individuals were never truly compatible. They were merely biologically convenient for the will's purpose. This explains the profound sense of being used that many men feel. You were used, but not by the woman. Both you and she were used by a force far older and more powerful than either of you, the will to life. She was as much a puppet of this force as you were. Her choices, her attractions, her eventual indifference, they were not entirely her own. They were the workings of the impersonal, relentless will. So we arrive at the core of this forbidden knowledge, the central thesis that reframes everything you thought you knew about desire, rejection, and your own value. If you grasp this, you may not find easy happiness, but you will find an indestructible sense of inner peace. The brutal truth is this: attraction is not personal. Your success or failure in the world of dating is not a verdict on your character, your worth, or your soul. It is the result of an impersonal, biological, and metaphysical transaction that is almost entirely outside of your conscious control. When you are chosen, it is not because you are worthy. It is because the combination of your specific genetic traits, health, and perceived resources has been deemed by the will as an optimal strategy for creating the next generation. And more importantly, when you are rejected, it is not because you are unworthy. It is not a reflection of your intrinsic value as a man. It is because your specific biological and material data did not fit the unconscious genetic equation being run by the other person's will. Perhaps your strengths were too similar to her own, offering no neutralization. Perhaps your signals of health or status were perceived as less optimal than another's. It is as impersonal as a key failing to fit a lock. Do you blame the key when it doesn't fit? Do you curse its character? No. You recognize it is simply the wrong shape. This is why you see men you consider to be of lesser character or intellect succeed where you fail. You are judging by metrics. The will does not care about morality, kindness, intellectual depth. The will is a pragmatist, a genetic strategist. It will choose the brutish but strong man over the kind but frail man if the former offers a better chance of producing robust offspring. It is not a moral agent. It is a survival machine. This idea is deeply unsettling because it demolishes the ego. It tells you that the most intense and meaningful experiences of your life are a sham, a biological puppetry. All the self-improvement, the striving to be a good man to attract a partner, is fundamentally misguided. You are decorating the prison cell, hoping the warden will fall in love with you. But the warden is blind. The modern dating market, with its endless apps and superficial metrics, has not created this system. It has merely stripped away the remaining layers of social ceremony and exposed the raw Schopenhauerian mechanics that were always at play. It is a marketplace of the will, where individuals are assessed and discarded based on a ruthless, unconscious, biological calculus. To be angry at a woman for rejecting you, from this perspective, is as absurd as being angry at a river for flowing downhill. Her attraction is not a conscious choice she makes to validate or invalidate you. It is a force of nature moving through her. You are not in control, and neither is she. This knowledge feels bleak and nihilistic. It appears to strip all meaning from love and connection. But to stop here is to miss the true power of Schopenhauer's philosophy. This is not a philosophy of despair. It is a philosophy of liberation. The liberation comes not from learning how to win the game of the will. You cannot win. The will always wins, because its currency is life and death, and it has eons to spend. The liberation comes from understanding the rules of the game so profoundly that you are no longer emotionally invested in its outcome. When you truly internalize that attraction is an impersonal force, you are freed. You are freed from the crushing weight of personal rejection. Rejection no longer stings your ego, because you understand it was never about your ego in the first place. It was a failed biological transaction you can observe with the detached curiosity of a scientist. You can say, my particular set of genetic data was not what her will was searching for. Interesting. And then you move on, unburdened. You are freed from the desperate, needy pursuit of validation from others. Your self-worth is no longer tied to whether you are chosen or not. You can build your life on a foundation of your own choosing, on principles, on discipline, on the pursuit of knowledge, on the creation of a will that is your own, separate from the blind will to life. This is the path of the Stoic, the ascetic, the philosopher. You build an inner citadel that the chaos of the world cannot touch. This understanding does not mean you must retreat from the world or from relationships. On the contrary, it allows you to engage with them from a position of immense power and clarity. You can appreciate beauty without being enslaved by it. You can enjoy connection without being destroyed by its absence. You see the puppet strings, and while you may still have to dance, you are no longer under the illusion that you are the one choosing the steps. The ultimate power is not to be the most attractive man in the room. The ultimate power is to be the only man in the room who understands why attraction happens. You see the code behind the matrix. Others are slaves to it. You are its interpreter. Schopenhauer's brutal truth is a bitter medicine. It burns on the way down. It kills the comforting illusions you have been fed your entire life. But it cures the disease of taking life and love personally. It allows you to stand apart with a calm, stoic understanding of the vast, impersonal forces that move the world. Do not strive to be loved by the will. Strive to understand it. In that understanding lies the only true freedom a man can ever achieve.